Thank you very much. We are going to be taking SEO from a little bit of different perspective. We're going to be talking a little bit more about content and PR and how to use your PR and your content and your creativity to create a very strong EAT SEO strategy. And we will be explaining why this is important. We already started in the first panel to explain what is EAT, but we will get to it. You already know me, and you know Warren, you don't have to go again, but we have got new panelists for you, and I will ask you to introduce yourselves, please.
Sure, I'm Sean. I'm a co-founder at GameChanger. We're an SEO agency that focuses on ROI-based SEO. So everything that we think about when we're running SEO strategies is about how are we going to generate money out of them. And that's how we modeled our entire infrastructure, the way we operate, and the way that we work with our clients.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jessina. I'm the managing director at ImpulseQ. ImpulseQ is an online marketing agency, and we are focusing on content distribution and digital PR in over 100 countries. And yeah, so that's what we do.
Hi, guys. I'm Martin Varrand. I'm working as a chief revenue officer at Hit Gaming. We are a brand new gaming company. Just launched a new brand a few months ago, so happy to be, let's say, the only one who's not working with SEO only. So I'm not into details, but I'm more having this marketing overview and maybe can add to the conversation some different perspective.
But SEO is part of the marketing funnel, so we want to make sure that we cover all of the angles and bring you actual value. Shortly, what is EAT? So, double EAT is EAT on steroids, right? That was experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, and now we have added to it to the experience. So experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Why do we think Google is doing this, and what's the benefit of having EAT-rich website?
So maybe I can start with that one? Sure. So if you look at every other website on the internet, it's especially within the scope of SEO, what we're trying to do is just be one step better than the competition. So when you're looking at backlink profiles, what we're doing on the website and so forth, people tend to copy each other. When you start adding layers of expertise onto that to demonstrate that you are the correct person to provide an answer to a query, you are providing a better user experience to the people who are actually searching. And Google ultimately only works not as an NGO, it works because it makes money. So the reason why it needs extremely good search results is because otherwise people won't come back to its product, and ultimately they won't click, and it's going to lose users to its competitors now, like other search platforms, Reddit, TikTok, and so forth, Bing, AI. So the reason why they've implemented this is because you need to provide the best, you need to demonstrate that you are the correct source of information to be able to provide an answer, while categorizing and sorting billions of websites on the internet, which are all trying to fight for the same thing, right? People's attention. And ultimately, we make money by getting in between a transaction, as does everyone else in the economy. But when it comes to SEO, it's all about doing that little bit extra, almost that hacker mentality to an extent, to get that extra step above the competition and get that click, which drives ultimately revenue. So if you go to the search results nowadays, I mean, it's in some cases terrible, right? So you see that Google updates come out whereby there are good websites which are being removed from the search results, and you have bad websites which are being promoted. So there's a war out there. The war is occurring every single day. And this is one of Google's attempts at trying to get people to drive a better experience towards their users and ultimately build a better product. In practice, does it actually work? The Google updates that happened recently and the results that you're seeing are slightly controversial in many ways, as you've mentioned in the previous panel, so I'm not going to go over that in too much detail. But when everything looks the same, what distinguishes you from the competition? And that's one of the areas that EEAT is trying to tackle.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a problem of the sea of copying each other, right? I mean, especially with the AI, having your own affiliate became super cheap, and you see just so much of unoriginal content. And this update should fight the unoriginal. And I think actually Katri said it right before us that people tend to copy each other's culture because it worked. But you need to add yourself to it. So it's not just in our field, the unoriginality. And if you don't have anything original to say, how do you stand up? That's the truth. And the previous speaker was talking about bad link building, and PR is supposed to prevent it. So how do we make sure that we run an original and good PR and pick up the links nobody else is doing? I mean, I have few experts here on PR. Martin, you can start, of course. But what would be your tip to create a good PR to make sure that your backlink profile is Google-proof and actually helps you rank rather than gets you the penalty he was talking, Kasper was talking here about?
Yeah, so I will actually give a quick example maybe. Years ago in Betson, we worked with Baltics market, so Estonia was one of the market which I oversaw, and we had sports betting, we had casino, and we had a brand ambassador, Ott Tänak, who was the world champion of WRC. He's Estonian, so we hired him as a brand ambassador, and we started doing content with him. One of the things with him is that he avoids news, he doesn't give interviews, and press is like very, very hungry for any kind of content from him. And we started doing original content. We did interviews prior to every rally. We complemented it with podcasts, and we sent it out to press. And we picked up just tons of links from national broadcast center, which obviously you cannot get any links from there however you want. But the content we made, it was so good that no journalist could afford not sharing it, not linking to it. And we did it for over a long, long period of time. And with it, we established a very strong position with WRC, with sports betting in Estonian market. We had the best brand domain rating, and also obviously in terms of the WRC and sports betting section, the best ranking. So this is something, just kind of example how this content, PR, everything to put into work, and how it also serves the SEO in the end. So I think this is something that you can take this PR also, that you have to add value, you have to have something special, and by doing so you can guarantee to get these valuable links because you actually provide value back. The other option, obviously, what is very popular right now is digital PR. You basically work with an agency who is coming up with different researches, writes research together and publish it out to different presses, and it will be picked up, and you will gain very, very good links from it. So there are different options, but definitely it's a very popular trend at the moment.
I really love the first one because it gives you not only original content, but you had exclusivity. So I think if you can get somehow something exclusive, people will share it. I mean, difficult to compete with Betson's budgets, but think big and just try to fit it into your budget if possible. But I love it, the exclusivity there. I worked for Betson as well, so I remember it, but yeah. It was a really good...
for example,
you did it in lots of markets and lots of places. You always had a strong ambassador and tried to give the exclusivity. You had the one from Game of Thrones, the ginger one as well. I don't know. So you always look for an interesting angle at Betson, that's true.
But the point is that this is something that competitor, it's very difficult to compete with this kind of thing, but it wasn't, let's say, budget-wise, something massive. We obviously in Estonia we worked with smaller budgets, but it was just seeing the opportunity and kind of using the opportunity in a unique way that kind of like you kill many birds with one stone, let's say.
Basically, good PR works across several departments where it needs to be the creativity, the content, the SEO. Warren, obviously, want to say something.
What I would add to that is generally in SEO, we have an overload of data. We always look at, if you're creating an SEO strategy, okay, I want to rank for casino, who's first? Let me do exactly what they're doing. But with EEAT and with coming up with creative PR campaigns, as Martin is mentioning, the data won't show you that story. So the data is the story of the past. The data is what has worked so far. But if you want to create that competitive edge, if you want to create content that is going to resonate at an emotional level, you need to look at that human element. So, you know, if you're going for Estonia, you want to push for sportsbook, get an Estonian athlete and a sport that he's amazing at. And the difficulty in that, I think, in our industry is we are so obsessed with data to a very high degree. And I'm not saying it's not important. Obviously, data is very important, but it doesn't give space for creatives to work. And that's why all casino content is the same. All sportsbook content is the same. Like, whichever operator you go to, it's like copy-paste, AI or human-made. So, you know, the example that Martin gave, and if you want to get that PR that really journalists and newspapers want to republish, you need to come up with something creative, something that is a bit daring, and yes, there's added risk to that.
And just to mention also, I mean, we're talking about sportsbook over here, which is unique in itself, that you're able to employ quite a lot of different tactics. As an example, getting old football players to sponsor you and to sponsor them and to mention you in a post, whereby then you can have a this mentioned on behalf of betting operator. When we're talking about casino, and you retain your topicality, right? It's betting, it's sports. But then when we're talking about casino, in particular casino operators, PR starts getting a bit dangerous, because you do need to bear in mind that when you are creating a campaign that is going to be noteworthy and newsworthy, it needs to go viral, or it just needs to generate links. You need to generate something which people are going to write about. And when it comes to sports, people are going to talk about odds, this fighter is fighting that person, there's this going on, that person said that. But when we're talking about casino, we might go a little bit astray. And we might start coming up with campaigns which maybe aren't aligned with the topicality of casino, but we do it to go all out and get the best results. So, I mean, I've tested this out in the past, and I've generated 2,000 referring domains in less than 2 weeks with a campaign which went viral. And the campaign went viral only because it was not related to casino. It did generate a response, but it was more of a trending response rather than a long-lasting response. So what ended up happening, the owner of a company that we ran a campaign on, which was actually a famous cartoon, retweeted the campaign. It went famous on Lad, Bible, and everything else, and it spread like wildfire. And it was on a very highly competitive market where we're competing with, let's say, operators who have casino and sports. So they're able to send those signals to Google, which a casino by itself, standing by itself, just cannot send, right? So I managed to get all of these ranking signals, and what it did was create a trending effect. So for, I don't know, 3 weeks, online casino, country variation, and all of these other keywords, let's say, went up to the top 3 positions. But after that, can I say that there was a long-lasting effect? Not really. Once the trending was over and the links stopped and the traffic which was generated through these Twitter posts stopped, then it just fell back to where it was. So that gets me questioning also, is Google smart enough to discount certain backlinks which have no relevance to the topic of your website also?
Now, Jessina is our expert here on links and PR campaigns. What do you think?
So I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to really, try to find always a different angle if you do digital PR, and always, try to find something unique or fresh when it comes to content. Don't do the same thing that all the other PR companies are doing, like do an interview or something like that. There are so many strategies you can do to really get a good content piece out there that gets picked up and get the exposure that it deserves. And I think on the other side, it also comes down to the network you have. Or the relationships you have with the journalists and so on.
Yeah,
You
I
wanted
would
to
say
go.
that these one-time activities definitely are cool, but I think the main value comes when you do something for, let's say, consistently over a long period of time. So when we talk about PR, this is obviously, you have to take PR as part of your general marketing mix, something that it has a place in every campaign or every week, every month, and you already think the things through that you do in marketing, how PR sits in these activities, and as you kind of give these signals, you get these links, this social media coverage on a consistent basis, then I think that the value also accumulates, and yeah, that's what I see is important.
Yeah, and just to go on the back foot of that, right now we're in an age where there are, let's say, 3 main methodologies, but let's talk about either end, which are the fast churn and burn. So right now it's, as someone on a previous panel mentioned, the chaotic period, which is quite interesting because where there's chaos, there's opportunity. A lot of people lived in that chaos and generated opportunity for a full year with AI, automation, scale, so forth. Now Google comes in and just like, the American government in the 1920s slapping on prohibition on alcohol, they come out and try to criminalize AI content, right? While just like in America, when there was prohibition, you had people who had moonshine going out, selling their bottles everywhere. Then you had the people who were a little bit smarter and implemented systems about how to, stay under the radar and remain criminals effectively. And that's what Google is doing to AI content right now, criminalizing it. So when you look at a combination of PR with AI content, with trustworthy signals from other websites, authors, columnists, news sections, all of these different attributes, if you start combining them together, then you're going to build a nice ship which would be long-lasting. And that would take us to the other end, which is trying to create something which combines an entire marketing strategy. If you're creating a brand, as has been mentioned several times on several panels, brands are searched every single month. You don't just have a spike of searches and then they disappear. Or rather, maybe not all brands operate that way. So when you're looking at building up something which is on one end, on the hacking side, don't do it on a brand which is reputable, on an online casino operator, don't do it on a bookie, don't do it on someone who has long-term aspirations. You can go with those kinds of tactics where you create domains which are churn and burn, specifically there to try and manipulate Google search results. Those are, let's say, the black hat SEO, Wild West fun days. Then you have the other side, which is the more long-term vision, where you can start combining all of these different attributes and maybe not killing AI into your processes and not killing AI into the way that you do things, but combining them with methods like PR, like media buying. Like we're also mentioning how how the current trend is to push bot traffic. And as Warren rightfully mentioned, Google doesn't see it as bot traffic. Why? Because 80% of the internet has been bot traffic for the past 20 years. So if you've ever done media buying, you would know back in the heyday of what they called, the fraud period, before the tools like Volume and others came out, which helped you track IPs and all of these different things. It was effectively just bot traffic on the internet, and you had to really filter it out quite a lot. So when it comes to even manipulating Google with this kind of bot traffic, also consider as time moves on, bringing all of those strategies into play, where you can do it very cheaply with ad networks, actually even cheaper than utilizing bot traffic from people who are specifically trying to manipulate the search engines. So PR, it has a place, yes. It is going to help differentiate you. I think it's quite an important period in time to differentiate yourself from competitors. And also the overall strategies which you're going to employ into it. So, we've spoken about parasite SEO quite a lot. And once you start really digging into news websites, like I've done recently, you really start understanding that it's a completely different ballgame. When you're dealing with news websites, you're dealing with sites which have separate sitemaps that are specifically for news articles. These sitemaps are meant to be populated every 48 hours with 1,000 URLs max. And if you do more than that, you have to have more news sitemaps. So we're talking about releasing thousands of articles, potentially every 2 days, right? If you had to look at this from the point of view of a normal website, you would say that that is definitely AI content. But when you have, 1,000, 1,500 journalists contributing every single day to your website, maybe that's why parasite SEO is starting to be a little bit difficult to weed out, because it falls into the cracks a lot easier because it has that kind of protection from everything which is done around it. So by all means, yes to PR. I wouldn't say PR only, I would say PR and proper multi-channel traffic.
Absolutely, I fully agree. That's why we're talking about is that content and SEO and PR working together. We're biting into that creativity. And I think we talked a lot about creativity for operators, but how about affiliates? They are the ones who get really washed out through those updates, and they are the ones who are first to abuse everything and go to a parasite. SEO works for affiliation. AI is abused more by affiliate websites. So what's the future for them? How can they do better? Let's say they picked up a penalty right now. How to clean it up? What's the process? What would you give them as a recommendation? Let's go to affiliates, and from different angle than just how would you build a PR campaign for them, but how would you clean up? If you picked up penalty through this March spring cleaning update, what would you do?
So I have a couple of people that contacted me during all of this chaos that ensued, and Google updates don't always penalize, sometimes they reveal. So if you had an underlying cancer in your operation and as a result in your website, a Google update might reveal that. So it might have gone under the radar for a long period of time. And then a Google update comes out and it reveals it. They push the button and suddenly you get removed for quite a lot of search queries. And one case in point, this website was operating for a long period of time. With a canonical on their English language subfolder pointing towards another page, which when this Google update came out, de-indexed that page from the search results. So it's not always about you've been penalized algorithmically or manually. Sometimes it's just that you had a cancer on your website and now it's been revealed and you need to figure it out. So that's, question number one. What happened? I would say definitely go for a full audit. I mean, look into your keyword metrics, look into which particular search queries are being impacted, on which pages, in which countries, over which period of time. And then over time, start setting up your data points. So if I'm losing, who's winning? And if they're winning because they're doing something better than me, then most likely I've been algorithmically devalued. I haven't maybe been penalized, but maybe there are just people who are being rewarded more than me. So when dealing with something broad like a Google algorithm update, you can't just think, oh, I've been hit. You need to look at everything. You need to look at the technology on your website. You need to look at your backlink profile. You need to look at your competitors. You need to look at page level, country level, language level. You need to go all the way through to try and find the common threads which might be linking you towards that kind of negative attribution. Now, in some cases, you might find that it's something really simple, like this person who contacted me, freaking out, my website is no longer ranking on my brand name in several countries. Okay, 5 minutes, here we go, you're back up, right? In other cases, it might be a systematic, long-term thing. My first company in iGaming that I ever worked for, when I joined, was penalized. Like literally the week before I joined. And they were trying, to launch the disavow files. They were trying to, get a review request. But at that point in time, you're just losing money because you're not even ranking on your own brand name. So in some cases, I always go back to the philosophy of take me to the money fastest when it comes to certain decision making. And in that case, it didn't make sense to recover the main domain. So what I recommended was moving to as an example, subdomain instead of subdirectory approach for each and every language. So in some cases, you have to look at whether it's worth recovering something. And for that particular scenario, going to a subdomain rather than subdirectory, they were ranking again within 2 weeks rather than potentially 8 months, right?
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I think you wanted to say something too.
I would add, if you're an affiliate and sort of you're setting up your content strategy for next year, going again back to the data point, we typically only look at the quantitative stuff, but I'm not sure how many companies actually speak to the customers, speak to the people who actually visit their sites, and sort of getting that insight, understanding what does someone who get on my website want to get from a review of this casino. Do they actually want bonuses to be like shoved down their throats left, right, and center? or do they want to see any value of a particular slot of a particular game? And again, going back to that human element, Google clearly wants to steer us in the direction where it wants us to serve content for our customers. Unless we're talking to those customers, unless we're figuring out what creates that emotion for them, then that content again is gonna be repetitive. And I agree with what Sean said. Sometimes creating content for casino that is creative can be a bit harder. But if we look outside of casino industry and we jump on trends that happen on social media, we think of funny ways how to do stuff. Again, I'll give another example from Betson, because I had a guy in my team and he was an SEO, but he was like a very creative guy. And once we decided to buy a really old ancient slot machine, and we restored it, and we created 5 or 6 content pieces from restoring an old mechanical slot machine, one of the first ever created. So my SEO budget didn't go into backlinks. It was a headache to convince my boss to actually spend money to buy an old slot machine, but the value that we got from those pieces of content in terms of natural PR from websites that would never think to link to a casino website, but it worked. We also did reviews for slot games, and we said, on how many devices can it run? We know it can run on your phone, we know it can run on your computer, can it run on a fridge, can it run on a billboard? And we filmed all of that. And it gets backlinks, so you need that a bit of like crazy mind in a way. You go for it, and sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't, but you can still create entertaining content. And primarily that's what we try to say, right? People are coming to casino for entertainment purposes. And we do it very well on sports, but somehow on casino we're always, a bit scared because of the implications, I guess, behind that. But outside of the casino industry, if we apply some of the creative techniques that is used in gaming, like, companies like Sony, companies like Microsoft are doing very creative stuff with games, with how people spend time. And those sorts of things can sometimes be sort of parallel to what we do as well.
Yeah, I agree, and especially there have been a lot of talks that iGaming in general maybe hasn't been as innovative as other industries, and if we, let's say, purely look at the number of casinos who are competing for the 10 positions in the SERP, or let's say the first positions, then competing against them, their link building budgets, you cannot do things same way. You have to do something very different, have a unique approach, and if you're successful, you have a chance with some kind of keywords, right? So for us, definitely the innovation, thinking outside of box will and especially around content, etc., will take you, let's say, towards achieving that goal. One thing what I wanted to also mention, and maybe what gives better perspective why EEAT is important, or why Google considers this, is that if we take affiliate sites, for example, I'm building affiliate site, and I've been riding motocross for all my life, since I was 4 years old, and have been doing it professionally, and now I have an affiliate site which is reviewing motocross parts, motocross gear, everything, and it's one of the biggest in the world. But when before the AI started to come, different big affiliates or big domains and doing content about this. So basically, it's the same thing with the Vampire SEO, that big guys, they started creating content about best dirt bike helmets. People who have never even sat on a dirt bike were reviewing best dirt bike helmets. So if you need a dirt bike helmet, who are you trusting? Someone who has been riding all their life, or someone who has no idea about the dirt bike helmets, just scrapes the internet, does a very quick research, and writes a content about this. And this kind of thing, for me, it was super annoying that I need to compete with these guys who don't know anything about motocross, and they are outranking me. And they serve this information to good users who search for information, they want to get value, they want to make their buying decisions better, and they get screwed. So this is something why I think we need EEAT, and now obviously with AI coming, we need it even more.
Absolutely. But I think AI still has a future and place in our SEO content and PR creation. Where would you place it? Where it's still helpful? We obviously know that it's not to scrape other people's websites and copy it, but AI technology is here to help us. So where would you still use it to make your life easier, but still make a creative and good content and create a good PR and bring value to your end user?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been hyper-focused over the past 6 months on just process automation. And not to the extent where I'm, let's say, writing content automated at scale, but to the extent where I have all of these different technologies, which previously I would need to pay very large development teams to integrate. I mean, AI, this is another thing, right? AI didn't just arrive here. It's just that it became democratized. Everyone who could write a sentence could suddenly get access to the results. Whereby before you would need a very large development team, you would need an API, you would need to call certain information, query it. It was a big hassle and required a very lot of funds. So AI hasn't just popped up. It's been around for a long time. It's just been democratized, and I've been using it for years. And maybe even in its simplest form, such as machine learning, right? And categorization of data and so forth. So not much has changed from my point of view. It's just become a lot easier and a lot cheaper to utilize. And what I've become really obsessed with is just identifying not only processes with AI, but also how to cut out processes with people. So when you look into an overhead of generating some kind of task, there's normally a water flow of tasks that need to follow up. And there's a lot of coordination into that meantime to get things done. And in SEO, we repeat a lot of things, right? So it's the culmination of all of our experience to find tracks of data to determine what is happening. That's our job. As well as Warren said, also the more creative aspects of it. So the way that I utilize AI is to insert it into different pieces of that flow and process to offer value. And if that flow and process is the research aspect, whether it is identifying many different outlets, what's trending and what could possibly be a kind of ideation, whether it's then coming up with, a 15 prompt process to come up with something which is really relevant before then it's sent to a human to be checked for delusion. Because let's not forget, I mean, AI is just guessing, or LLMs are just guessing the next best words to write. And sometimes they get delusional and they write things which don't make sense. So for me, it's just about inserting it, not making my whole process around AI, but finding a place for AI to fit into my processes. And yeah, from an ideation point of view and a mass research point of view, it's fantastic.
Jessina, where would you use it?
Yeah. So at one point, I think AI is really great because it helps you to work more efficient, more faster, and you can just do things in a way faster way, and you don't need even people to do it. To do certain things, like when it comes to content, to find topic suggestions or ideas or briefings, content briefings, things like that. I mean, even we in our company, we integrated AI in our tool we developed ourselves. So this is really helpful. And if we wouldn't have done that, we would need a lot of more people in our company working and doing that. But with AI, it's not, we don't need it, right? And so this is quite cool. And what we recently did on our homepage, our website, the ImpulseQ website, we created a whole Wikipedia kind of thing, like a glossar, just created by AI, completely 100%. And this is live for about 2 weeks already. And we gained around 100 rankings already with it. So yeah, this is also a great way to use AI.
Fantastic. So use it for processes or in a way, in innovative way. I have a very clever guy in my team, or my previous team, I already left, come on, and he created a script with AI because he combined lots of offers from our suppliers, links, and he exported things like DR and price and whatever, and he just get everything into different sheets, and then he created a script, and it just tells you like this, and then you can filter easily. So for him, link building that used to be 5 days of work currently is 15 minutes because he can filter. So AI, if it helps you create all those difficult scripts that, you know, as a human you cannot think of, it's fantastic. So that's where we use it in my previous company. Martin, I think you wanted to say something. You were lifting your microphone or not?
Yeah,
Okay.
in general, I wanted to just say that AI is just a tool, and you should treat it that way. AI can give you excellent brief for the writers to write the SEO content, or you can write the content with AI and then edit it with a good editor or writer. Obviously, there are still websites that are built purely on AI. The content is purely on AI, and it ranks if you build good links and you are in a specific industry or niche where it has a place. I definitely think that coming with that strategy to iGaming and building a new brand, it will be difficult, but yeah, for me, definitely AI is here. It gets better all the time, but what we also SEOs need to figure out is how do we give these EEAT signals.
So in my life in general, I never learn from succeeding. So whenever I succeed at something, I get lazy and I just don't start following up on it anymore. I learn from failure only. And the nice thing about AI is that it helps you fail at scale. So if you have a hypothesis that you want to test and try and understand what's going to be potentially negatively attributed or positively attributed, there's never been an easier time to do it.
Yeah, it speeds up your learning process for sure. I mean, last year we were all talking and discussing if we're going to be replaced by AI when it comes to content creation. I think a Google update gave us a definite answer. But now I'll ask the audience, do you have any questions to this fantastic panelists? Yes, please.
So hi, my name is Lazar Mirchin, and I'm an iGaming advisor coming from iGaming advisor company, and I'm advising many companies in the operation. One interesting thing, Sean, you mentioned you guys are coming from operational teams. That's on casino is taking over versus sports, like
Yes.
in Europe. So it's normal thing. It's this era. It was sportsbook previously. Now casino is overtaking. What are your suggestions and examples? How do we solve this issue? What you, Sean, mentioned with the SEO and the PRs related to casino, because we are also, you mentioned. Sorry, I got
Warren.
Yeah, sorry. So, do we know how can we increase or let's say improve the things around the casino to not be afraid from the operator point of view using the technology what you're using? Thank you.
I mean, one place to start if you want to get PR, look at what type of content, for example, news websites have previously linked in the past to casino. Most of it will probably be fine related, but somewhere there you are going to find content where some operator created some piece or did some stunt or talked about a particular topic which actually got linked. So in that case, the customer for your content is not necessarily the end user, but it is those companies where you want to sort of be present in. And that will depend largely on the type of website. Do you want to be linked in Daily Mail? Do you want to be linked on BBC? It's a very different type of content that you would need to create if you want to go for those.
Yeah, and I mean, some things I've done in the past also were, as an example, buying a software package and then asking them if they wanted a testimonial, right? So in technology, sites are really powerful websites. You can go, they're all very happy to sell you the software and then talk about how they sold you the software. They don't understand the link value which comes out of it. So there are so many different, let's say, creative ways. Obviously, I'm not as creative as Warren, but
It wasn't me, it was a guy in my team. I didn't come up with that stuff.
Yeah. It's for me, I see like, this is what I want to achieve, this is how I get it, right? And there are many ways that you can do that. I mean, even Parasite SEO in itself is creative. And I mean, parasite SEO is not easy. Everyone thinks it's easy. It's not easy. So it's not only about releasing content on a website, it's about establishing a relationship with that website, taking them out to dinner, convincing them to give you a subfolder on their website or a subdomain, establishing trust whereby you're going to share revenues, having contractual obligations towards each other, fixed fees, these kinds of things. So when you're looking at ways where you can diversify and start understanding new methods of generating really valuable links and context, parasite SEO would be a very good example of it, but it's just not easy. And what I've realized is that all of the best kinds of links, as Warren mentioned also, don't come from just hi, hello, sir, outreach emails and pitches, but it comes from relationships with real people. And once you have those relationships with real people, you can generate value, which is then passed on to your domain also, and potentially they get value also. Welcome.
Anyone else have any?
One small thing to add. I know you mentioned specifically casino, right? But what the brand stands for, whether it's sportsbook or casino, I think can also matter. So one brand that both Martin and I worked on was BetSafe. So BetSafe in the UK previously was associated with Gumball. They used to sponsor that event. They sponsored Conor McGregor, and it was kind of the daring sport brand. But from that, there were also efforts then within that brand to cross-sell the casino product to people who do play sportsbook. So just because people come for one particular product, if you do build a brand that people love, then it's also easier to cross-sell a product to them. So that can also be.
Yes, but so just to add, if I may.
Yeah.
We have situation now, new startups, for example. I will give Serbia as example. Retail, extremely strong. All the brands are from the retail, they went online. And it's okay. Then they have 50-50 sports betting, so they can declare as a sports betting company, but casino is growing, blah, blah. But we have new companies, also with retail and without retail, so pure online or mixed combined. No matter what they do and how they declare, they are still 20% maximum of the sports betting brand. I mean, the traffic is 20% because why? Just retail market, shops, deposit methods, etc. So my question was more related to these kind of examples. Like, okay, I would love to declare myself as a sports betting company, but casino is just bigger because players are not so loyal as betting players. Someone mentioned on previous panels, content is the same everywhere. So someone is a bit more creative, so we'll bring a bit more amount of players. But what is then happening? How can we attack then? If we are creative, it's okay, we will do a marketing and things, but we have closed markets with the marketing campaigns. So we cannot advertise on TV, we cannot do offline marketing, we can do only PPC, but still Meta blocked some countries. Only 32 countries are available at the moment. So there are a lot of these things. So exactly that's why it was a question. I understand. So there are many things that you can build on, like in the industry, we are building relationship all the time. But how do we actually go with casino, and no matter if we declare ourselves with sports betting and bring in casino presence? Because also industry now is changing. Fast resolve bets, fast resolve games, aviator games,
Crash
games,
games.
thank you. Crash games, so live dealers, everything is connected. So now we have a bit more mixed players who are playing live bet with like what is going to happen in next 5 minutes, who will first score the goal, who will first blah blah blah, and it's a mix, but still casino is 70%. How then we avoid these things, what you were speaking previously, and it's okay, there are some mechanisms, what you said, but I really need to understand how not to be afraid as a casino operator to not be banned or what you used for forwarding from Google or for search or whatever, using SEO and affiliates.
So none of the advice that any of us give you, okay? No, none of the advice that we will give you will be, Google is not our grandmother. We don't have our own speed, on a speed dial kind of thing. So, yeah. So, I mean, when you're looking at, so your ideal, you want to rank on casino-related keywords, but you don't have the capability to do it because you don't have the capabilities within the market. So one of the things which is important to look at is what's happening on the market. So if you have those restrictions, other people do also, right? Now the question is, those people, what are they doing to overcome those restrictions? So if you're talking about a market whereby advertising is banned, you're not allowed to have people land on a website which is talking about casino without first clicking I'm over 18, these kinds of scenarios, then you have to start getting very creative in the ways that you're going to be better than your competition, but also protect yourself in the fact that you're not going to do something which will, number one, get you in trouble with the regulator, and number two, not get you in trouble with Google. To put things very, bluntly, 90% of the products out there suck, okay? So if you're looking at sports books, we're talking about parameter URLs, we're talking about event levels, starts up 3 days before the event goes live, disappears, no archiving, no user experience, it's just, what type of categories do you have? Sport type, league maximum, event which are automatically generated and removed. So that's something which can be improved on. Once that's improved, you already have something which is better than the competition. Then on the casino side, the technology most of the time sucks. Right? So from the platform point of view, you have lists from APIs which are being pulled for the list of games, which might be taking 5 seconds to load. Automatically, you're looking bad at Google because your LCP, it's called, is taking much longer than everyone else's. It's a common issue which most people have within that industry. As they share teams they share the development team with other departments. And SEO is never really the first department to get the priority on the development lifecycle, because it's like, okay, I want to do this here and now. So you effectively end up with an entire ecosystem of products which are not optimized for Google, but people just end up spending a lot of money on backlinks and content and PR and this to get it to rank. While, we've seen that if you actually prioritize the technology side and you actually prioritize the fundamentals, you might have an edge over the competition. And we've seen that with a customer of ours which ranked in certain, let's say, territories within 2 months of consultation without much backlinking and without much content besides meta optimization, I'll be honest with you. So I would say start with a great product and then start looking into ways that you can either emulate the competition or do it better. So if you're talking about, a place where advertising is banned and so forth, I guarantee you that there are PBNs, I guarantee you.
Yeah, there is definitely some blackhead SEO going on, and sadly we ran out of time, so thank you very much. Please speak to Sean after the panel privately. He has an absolute massive well of information here. Thank you very much for joining me. Main takeaways, I would say, is be creative, because creativity is the key, because that's what AI doesn't have over you, is the creativity. And all our panel was about being creative on page and off page to be better than the very generic competition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.